Okay, so today I used an article called Idea Sharing Assessment in a Cooperative Learning Class. It is by C.T. Mina Tama. So in today's article, it covered assessments in cooperative learning. So the article states that assessment is naturally a necessity to see the result of an instruction. Assessing students is inseparable from teaching. The article also shows that assessment should be cooperative learning based in a cooperative learning classroom. So with grading, cooperative learning should be graded based on group and also individual efforts. So you can't just grade based on number one, either the group or just individual efforts. You have to have both. With cooperative learning, it's a way for students to use group work to enhance learning through peers. It's structured and organized. Students are required to work together to learn and be responsible for their fellow students' learning as well as their own. The 5 essential components for cooperative learning. Number 1 is face-to-face interaction. Number 2 is interpersonal and small group skills. Number 3 is group processing. And number 4 is accountability. Also, number 5 is positive interdependence. So every student is required to partake in group work, but since this is not always the case, individual grades will be reflected upon by the individual assessment, while the group work grade is reflected on by the whole group effort. If you'll notice, I have 3 words bolded here. The first word is assessment, the second is cooperative learning, and the third is individual accountability. In a few slides, these words will all be defined because I know that not everybody knows exactly what these words mean. Overall, I agreed with the content in this article. I really like the aspect of students having an individual grade based on their individual learning. However, one question I did have regarding the article is that how could you do better to assess students in groups? Because I know from personal experience that you will always have, number one, students who slack off and don't help at all. And number two, you'll always have somebody who kind of takes control and sort of usually does most of the work when you have that person that slacks off. So is there a way to penalize the students who don't help, but at the same time reward the students who do? That's just about my only question regarding this article. So my connections to the classroom. So my first one is this article relates to my future as a classroom teacher because it shows the positive learning outcomes in using cooperative learning in the classroom. Because when students work in groups and they're able to turn to peers and ask for help, it gives the teacher more time for helping other students in groups or even teaching new material for groups that are ready to move on. One example I can kind of think of for this is like reading centers and how you're pretty much an ability-based groups. So it all depends on each student's ability. The second connection I have is this article relates to my future as a classroom teacher because it shows the negative aspects of using cooperative learning. And this may include having students who do not help with group work, having students who do all the group work, and also students who just don't learn well from peers. I have a personal experience with that. I just don't learn well from other students. So my third classroom connection is this article relates to my future as a classroom teacher because it shows how I can use assessments to check my students' understanding while using cooperative learning. Because using assessments will allow me to see who is actually contributing to group work and who is also understanding the material that is being learned under cooperative learning. So here's that slide I was talking about with the unknown words. So here we have assessment defined as an activity that yields comprehensive information that is used to analyze, discuss, and judge a student's performance or valued abilities and skills. For assessment, there's summative and formative. With a summative assessment, it's pretty much that one big test that you take at the end of a unit that sums up everything that you've learned. For a formative assessment, this can be something as simple and quick as a quiz or an exit slip or just really anything that you do on a day-to-day basis to gather data based on what students are learning now. So the other word I have bolded is cooperative learning, which is an approach to education that is based on the philosophy that education should be learner-centered and learner-directed. Also, learners can be teachers, and that teachers are guides and facilitators rather than the source of all knowledge and direction. The last word I have bolded is individual accountability, which is making each member who is involved in group work accountable for his or her own learning. Simple as that. It's just making sure each student gets the work done and helps out. Here is my resource in APA format, and I think that is all I have for you. Well, thanks for listening.